Yeah. So I totally know what you're saying. It's like, well, where does one end and the other begin? Yeah, and I'm glad you're sort of wrapping it back to spirituality. Yeah, I think it's easy sometimes for people to get wrapped up in like, oh, what does being spiritual look like? It doesn't mean I need to wear white or be a vegetarian or all of these things that disguise sort of under the spiritual umbrella. And it's like, no, it's. I mean, I can only speak for myself and how I perceive it, but it's everything. It's the whole human experience, and it's the understanding that there's more to our existence, and it's the layers and the depth and emotion and the learning. There's some learning, I think, but yeah, it's everything.
Welcome, Jessica, to the Creative Possibilities podcast. I'm so happy to have you here today. Thank you for agreeing to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking me. I was really excited to get the invitation and get to chat with you.
Awesome. I love it. I love chatting with you. We are friends that have met many times before, and I completely admire your art, your energy practices, your healing practices. And you came up with the topic today of art and spirituality. And that is a topic that I also love. So I thought, yes, let's have a conversation about this. And so I want to start by just asking, since this is a podcast where people are getting to know both of us, let me ask you, what are your art and spiritual practices that you have now or that you feel passionate about right now?
Yeah, I wanted to say first, just yeah, I so honor and value you too, and as a friend, and you're one of like two people I think I've just cold reached out to on Facebook and like the kindergarten sort of like, do you want to be my friend? Because you seem awesome. So I think that's so fun that we like had that knowing, or I had the knowing that like this is someone I need to be connected to. So yeah.
Yes, and I'm so glad you did. I was trying to remember how we met, and it is. You just reached out and we met at
Yeah.
a farmer's market. So I love.
Yes. Um, yeah. So art and spirituality, I think for me, it's such a they're so intertwined and interconnected, and at times just feel one and the same. But it's definitely been a journey for me to understand that. And I've always created, always been artistic. I went to an art school that was very much focused on like mastery of figure drawing, and I really, for a long time focused on. I kind of put myself in. I think of that back now as like this tight box of like needing to um, hone my drawing skills and accuracy with things, which I think can be really beneficial, and a lot of learning takes place. But I think over the years, I realized that that really wasn't in alignment with who I was and how I wanted to express through my art. And so, yeah, I would say now it's much more in alignment with spirituality in terms of just allowing things to flow as they want to, being in that mystery of how is this going to evolve and take shape, and you know could evolve into something that I love, and it could just be something for me to learn through. So yeah, it's
Mhm.
kind of my in my evolution.
I love that. And you're also a energy healer. Is that the proper way to say that? I want to make sure I say it correctly.
Yeah, so the term that I've given my work now, like the sessions that I do, is psychic somatic. I thought that I had come up with that term, but then I Googled it and it's already being used. But I looked at the description of, how it's being used, and it was very much, similar to kind of how I'm using it. So yeah, I would say the work that I do blends a few different energy healing modalities, working with the subconscious, and like somatic body based practices. Um,
Mm.
yeah, so I essentially help people really connect with their bodies and like use their own intuition to be guided to where they're holding something, and then we work intuitively together to like see what's being held there and your clear beliefs and energy.
I've been to one of your energy clearings, and it was really beautiful. You offer such a calm presence and such a safe space for people to just get into their own bodies. So
You
I
know,
feel like, yeah, you have magic for sure, Jessica, and you.
that really means a lot to me. I really having people feel safe in the space that I create is really important to me. So that means a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like your art and your psychosomatic energy healing practice, they do seem to flow into one another. And it sounds like part of your healing, perhaps for yourself, or part of your practice is to kind of go into your body and then use more of an expressive form of art rather than that technical detail drawing techniques that we learned in college. Would you say that's true? Kind of more of an expressive form of art that you use?
Yes, yes, definitely. But the term expressive, intuitive, I
Mhm,
see that the intuitive component is sort of that connection between the two too. It's just
mhm,
when I'm creating, I'm I think Julia Cameron speaks to this a lot in The Artist's Way. You're
mhm,
allowing yourself to open and for energy and ideas and your creativity to flow through you, and that's very much what it feels like to me. And yeah, just sort of trusting the process, trusting my body, trusting my intuition, trusting how I am responding to a mark or to color, and yeah, just kind of like you said, allowing it to flow freely.
mhm. I love that blend of, and this is our topic today, that blend of bringing in the energy, bringing in the flow, connecting to something that's deeper than surface level that we all,
Yeah,
and I know we've had previous conversations about subconscious and different levels of just knowing. Um, a lot of times as humans, we kind of live in a very surface world. What's the weather? How you doing? Turn on the news, etc.
right.
But there's so much deeper, and I really feel like art and creativity in general connects us to that deepness in a way that does feel safe, like what you were saying earlier, in a way that does feel like I can just do it myself. I don't need anybody else to teach me or train me necessarily, but it's a
Yeah.
tool to use to go deeper.
Mhm.
So yeah. Well, let me ask about your specific practices because I'm always fascinated. I want to learn. You have such different approaches to things than I do, and I want to know as far as so. Sometimes it's stressful in the world, right? Sometimes things happen to us. We walk in this world and we have to let go of stress to kind of tune in or to get into that realm of being creative or being
Yes.
connected. What do you do to help you let go of the stress, to let go and get into a more of a creative and spiritual mindset?
Um, I would say like any body-based practice is helpful for me. I know we've connected a lot through dance and like intuitive movement. That is always really helpful for me, especially when energy is feeling stagnant. I feel like that's such a great way to just, get things moving, and and also the really restorative practices like yoga nidra, restorative yoga, even just mindfulness. And I know you know a lot about that and have taught about mindfulness, but that's been I think such a gateway for me too, is just like turning that attention inward and becoming that compassionate witness, knowing what's going on or being aware of what's going on without the judgment. And that's definitely been of course, I still have the judgment piece, but it is,
We all do.
yeah, right. It's so helpful to have that practice, I think. Uh,
Mhm.
and I wanted to just backtrack for a minute because you were
Yeah.
speaking of, you know, there being a deeper layer to something, like having that knowing that there's, more than the surface. And it was just reflecting a little bit, prior to our conversation about like what spirituality is. And
Mm.
I think to me, like it it's become more and more flexible as I've gotten older. It's like anything done with that understanding that there is we're connected to something greater than ourselves, or that there's more than meets the surface. Like, I think anything
Mhm.
could be a spiritual practice with that mindset.
Absolutely, absolutely. I started to really love those concepts when I studied Carl Jung in psychology classes, and he came up with the term collective unconscious, and just like that, there is this realm of knowledge that exists in the world that we can tap into that's like full of symbolism and metaphors and dreams and all of that. And I just it seems better than the internet. Like it
Right.
seems
It definitely is.
like I want to tap into that, and it's just like kind of a intuitive knowledge that is available to us that sometimes we may not know how to tap into sometimes, or may not know that it even exists. Sometimes stress carries us away from our own like ability to tap into it at times.
Yes, yes. And I feel like right now in society and the world in general, like,
Mhm.
because there is so much going on and so much like really collective trauma, and so many intense situations, it's easy for people to say, well, there's no time for that, it's not important enough. But like, no, this is when it's important. This is when like we need to connect with like the essence of who we are, so that um that doesn't get lost. Because
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's, I don't know. It's just easy to lose ourselves in the drama and the pain and suffering.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, yeah. I know that you probably do this with your clients, but I absolutely try to focus on with my clients the strengths that they already have inside of them that they have used in the past and that are available to them, and that strength almost feels hidden sometimes. It's beneath the
Yeah,
surface. It's something that people forget about, and whether it's a strength of determination, a strength of being able to, laugh sometimes or do different things that relax them. Yeah, that I definitely think that like creativity is a strength,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's it's something that I absolutely try to keep coming back to myself as like how to step out of the drama, the stress, the collective era of trauma, and try to just come back into that creativity. It's so healing, and I love what you said too, that like your body, your breath, movement, all of those things are kind of your um, pathway, I guess that's a good word, pathway to kind of get back to you and get back to your practices.
Yeah. Yes. Definitely been a learning experience.
Yeah.
Getting to that, discovering what those practices are. I love that you said, you know, I think it's the same. I feel when I'm working with clients, it's like I'm not giving you anything. I'm helping you uncover what's already there, or just release the blocks to seeing what your potential is, or what is getting in the way of this relationship, whatever it is, we're just helping to clear the clutter, right? We're not giving them
There's a lot of clutter.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's for everyone.
So I always like to just I've had 2 interviews so far with other people, and I like to bring up the topic that letting go or getting back to spiritual practices and creativity is not a one and done kind of situation. It's something that is like for me, I know that I have to every day make a conscious choice to stretch my body, move my body, make an
Yes.
effort to draw in my sketchbook, to breathe, to focus on like the present moment. Like it is a everyday practice and ritual to let go of whatever else those blocks, as you said, those blocks and the clutter.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that. That's amazing that you just said that because it actually reminded me of what I was going to say before, which was I feel like the and I hope I'm not I think this might be a question you have later down the line, but
All
um
good.
I think the main difference between like the experience of my own mental health and wellness now versus what it was, a decade or decades ago is that I know how to recover, right? I know how to have resilience, or I have more resilience. So it's not that I don't go through the same emotions or the same, experiences, difficult lessons. I think sometimes as helpers and healers, we go through even more intense things because we're learning in order to help other people. Um, but because of the work that I've done and also those practices that I know to keep coming back to now, it's like I might go through it a few days where I'm feeling, stagnant or depleted. I mean, sometimes longer.
Mhm.
I'm able to pull myself out of it. Whereas in the in my 20s or before that was just not the case.
Yeah, I definitely it's almost like having that confidence that you can get back to it.
Yeah.
And and that comes with practice. That comes with that comes with being able to do it enough and see the results and then be able to come back and say, okay, I need to take a break for a little while to just feel my feelings and maybe like I recently went through some grief after losing a pet, and
Yes, no.
I couldn't do anything for a few days other than just feel my
Yeah.
feelings. And then after that, like I chose to pick up paintbrushes. I chose to pick up my journal. I chose to do things that helped me in different ways than tears did, or
Yeah.
helped me kind of step out of it. And it is interesting. I think emotions make us pull away
Mhm.
from things for a little while because our body is just trying to find what's normal.
Yeah.
And it just feels like I'm definitely a deep feeler. I know you are too.
Yes.
Empathic to the max.
Yeah.
And yeah, we pull away, but we know that we can reconnect with something, reconnect with that bigger something, that creativity or spirituality later. So I think it is. It's almost like a trust that it's there
Yeah.
when I'm ready to come back to it. It's there. I can go towards it.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned that trust piece because I think, yeah, like trusting yourself too, that you're going to
Hmm.
like that. Yeah, the emotions when we're going through intense emotional states, it is like a reset. Sometimes we do need a break or need to, just recover ourselves. But trusting that, okay, even if I'm taking 2 minutes a day right now to like put a pen to a sketchbook and make a few lines, like that's enough. And that is going to eventually turn into more. And like trusting that, yeah, just making the time for it is one, valuable in itself, right? And then two, likely begins to evolve into, okay, now I can spend a little more time doing this and open to something new.
Mhm. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Yes, yes, yes. I resonate with that. So how has I'm gonna kind of we've covered some beautiful topics, and I want to ask specifically about you because I know that um, it sounds like you've made a transformation from who you were in college as an artist to who you are now as an artist. How do you think that like your art and your spirituality has transformed you as a human? It's a big question.
What a loaded question. And yeah, I think again to go back to that resilience piece, um, and value to like speaking of like valuing myself, like I think for many years in my life, I did not have the feeling that what I had to offer was valuable or that I had, skills or the way that I expressed was valuable. And it's doing, a lot of the subconscious work and healing helped me to let go of some of the blocks towards that. And when you're able to recognize that you do have value, it really starts to clear, where you are stagnant, because that can be a huge thing. Like if you're feeling like, oh well, I could do this, but it's not. I'm not worthy, or it's not worthy of being seen or expressed. Then that's going to create, a big block. So I would say that's a. Did that make sense? What I just said? I feel like
Yeah, it's those core negative beliefs, like, I
yes,
definitely those core
yes,
negative beliefs of, like, I'm not worthy, I don't have anything of value to offer to this world, but once you, like, actually start recognizing that you do have value, there is worth in what you're doing, that this creative flow and connection to something bigger, to your intuitive self or to the intuitive flow of the universe, like, yeah, it does offer value and meaning,
right.
where maybe messages from our past tell us otherwise.
Yeah, and also I think to know, like, to have the inner strength and inner worth enough to know, like, yeah, what I put out there is not going to be for everyone. Like, there are going to be people who aren't drawn to what I do and don't resonate, and that doesn't mean anything's wrong with me or wrong with them. It's just we're, on a different wavelength, and they're meant for something else and I'm meant for something else. So I think getting past that too, because I before would, if there was any sort of criticism, whether real or interpreted, it would just, be crushing to me. And now, yeah, and now I'm like, okay, it's their perception, and I'm doing me, and they're doing them, and makes
Yes.
life easier.
That's a huge transformation to have that shift of just recognizing your value in the world and not having to care about being the right fit for everybody. Yeah, that's yeah, I've had to learn that and relearn that one over and over again. I feel like that's a life lesson that I'm going to keep coming back to.
Yes, I definitely keep coming back to that one too.
But it's a beautiful transformation to just not be locked in by that all the time, to have the awareness of like, listen, I am worthy. I can tell myself that. I can see my worth with like sometimes even just walking through my house, like with artwork that I have in the house that I've made. I'm like, I made that. That's cool. Hey. And I remember
Yeah.
kind of I remember the moment and like the experience of making it and like kind of the emotional vibe of it and the story behind it. And it feels like meaningful and it makes me feel like I actually can make things worthwhile. So I love how art does that and how it does help us kind of bust it does help us bust some of those negative core beliefs and if we let it.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I think too sometimes, we're all, at least I've come to believe that we're all sort of on this earth learning different lessons. And when we are learning a lot about that self worth piece, it's like we're constantly confronted with situations that help us strengthen that even more. And often it's through, feeling the opposite of that, or being, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like where you find yourself like doubting it, or like, oh, this too. And it's like, no, you're gonna again choose over and over to know your worth and to know your right to be here and to express. And yeah, at least that's been my experience.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's kind of like, to me, it's a journey. And it's a journey of, like, I learned something once, and then the second time it presents itself kind of stronger to me, like the lesson of, and I can either take that moment at face value and be like, oh, not this again. I just dealt with this the other day.
Yeah.
Or I can be like, here it is again. Okay, I have these strengths.
Right.
I can get past this. I can keep going. I've done this before. Yeah, it really is. It's almost like some
Yeah.
people say it's a test. It's a test, but I don't like tests. So it's life lessons along the
Yeah.
journey that keep
Either.
presenting themselves.
I think either. Yeah. No, I like the lesson terminology much better. And I also think that even when something has a similar flavor, like that you're coming up against, it's like there's always something new. Like there's always something in addition, I think, that is being learned, or you're learning it in a new way. Yeah.
Mm. Is there, so along that topic of like learning and discovering things about ourselves, and is there something right now that you mentioned the self-worth component and kind of recognizing you might not be for everybody, and that they might not be a good fit for you and you might not be a good fit for them. Is there something right now that you're like expressing through your artwork or consciously trying to discover or learn more about right now?
I think it goes along with kind of what we've has sort of interwoven in our conversation already, with learning to just fully release um, how I'm perceived, or how what I put out there is perceived, and connect with, my deep inner knowing and myself, and have what I birth into the world be an extension of that, rather than what would people like, or what would people, how will they perceive this. And certainly as a healer, and I know you understand this, and your role is that too, you want that, you want to connect with how can I be of service. um, but yeah, in terms of art and other ways I choose to express, it's like letting go of, um, yeah, just allowing it to be an authentic expression, rather than how people perceive it. Or that's been a big journey for me, I think.
Yeah, working on authenticity is huge. Absolutely. I definitely.
And also what comes to mind as you say, like, what am I learning? I think I am someone, I think we are aligned on this, where we kind of like want to do a lot of different things, very dynamic. Um, I don't know if you're familiar with the human design. I have
A
a
little
couple of
bit.
friends that do human design, and I'm a manifesting generator, and I think that we like to do multiple things at once, and they feed off of each other. And so I think in my life I try to, or am trying to find a balance between, like, okay, where do I hone in and focus on mastery, or like working towards that, because I do enjoy that component of things, and still appreciate that like ability to be really dynamic and do multiple things. That's also just like a more surface level learning, I think.
Absolutely. It is kind of like I call myself a multi-passionate creative. So I
Yeah,
am passionate about a lot of things, multifaceted woman. And it is sometimes where do you put your energy at the moment? And then where do you want to put your energy later on too? And
yeah.
I struggle with that balance sometimes because I want to do all the things.
Right.
All the things. um, but it is definitely something that that lesson of being authentic and just honoring yourself. I think that's so important with being an artist as well as being a spiritual woman, spiritual human. Like if we
Yes.
don't try to be authentic with ourselves, then it's kind of we're not able to tap into that flow as much, and we're kind of living a life that doesn't feel connected as much. And so I definitely think that like that lesson of being authentic is a beautiful lesson. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful discovery.
Yes.
Mhm. So I want to ask you more about your intuitive flow and your psychic somatic kind of connection that you make with other people. What does
Mhm.
that feel like to connect with that in your body?
Well, no, I was thinking, oh man, how do I answer that? But then immediately coming to me like the different, how I can very easily convey it to other people is through, there's different psychic senses. So called the clairs or like um, basically psychic senses. That word clear just means clear. So there's clairvoyant, which is clear seeing, um, clairaudient, which is clear hearing,
Mm,
clear sentience, clear feeling, and clear cognizance, which is clear knowing. And
mm,
so in these sessions, I'm receiving information through all of these means. Um, but when you ask, and I'm guiding the client to connect in a way where they are more open to receive that information too. But when you ask like how it's perceived in my body, I'm guided to that sense of clear sentience, which is something that most therapists have, most empathic people have, which is when we actually feel what someone is holding in their body in our bodies. So, if someone, is really blocked in their expression, we might feel a tension in our throat. If they have abdominal issues going on, we might feel a pain in our stomach. Um, so it's actually like quite literally like feeling in your body, and I think there, many times people have this and they're just not aware of what's actually going on.
yeah, that's beautiful. No, yeah, it's something that is not common knowledge amongst a lot of people. And I think that, yeah, sometimes I'm an empathic person, but I don't necessarily consider myself a clairvoyant or a clairsentient person. I love that word though. That's a beautiful word. I want to learn more. But it's so interesting that sometimes the feelings that we have in our body might be trying to tell us something about ourselves or the other people in our life. And we just kind of are sometimes frustrated by, oh, I don't want this emotion, or oh, I don't want this feeling in my body.
Right.
And people might not recognize that it's trying to speak to them or tell them something important.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I love that. And I so often think that's the case. Like there are, things we want to, oh, this is uncomfortable. I want to push this away. But when you actually take the time to connect with that part of your body, your energy, it's like, oh, there's really valuable information here.
Yeah, I've been doing a practice. Part of my yoga practice is to not only just feel the tension and like the release of tension, but also like just notice any kind of like subtle tension and also expansiveness in my body. And like sometimes I only focus on the negative feelings, but sometimes there is like an expansive feeling or a feeling of lightness or freedom. Um
Yes.
and that's something that I want I want to learn more about. It is trying to tell me to like pay attention that I have this inside my body too.
I love that, and I that has been something so valuable for me too, and like somatic work is learning that, yes, you want to connect with those parts of you that feel tense and constricted, but there are also parts of you that feel amazingly light and, really good to be with, and you need to find those resources and anchors in your body or in your environment in order to, be with the painful parts and the lessons. And I think that's what we get to too when we're talking about creativity and connecting with joy. Is like we need that so that we have the capacity to handle the other stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, and I want to go back to our topic of spirituality. Sometimes people kind of mix spirituality with being happy all the time and free and light all the time. But I really do think that, like what you just said, spirituality encompasses all the things. Like it's kind of a connection to kind of a deeper feeling of sadness sometimes, a deeper feeling of maybe emotions that are out there, but it also can be a connection to something lighter and a flow of freedom, or it can be kind of a flow of like just knowing that it's okay, that it's gonna be okay no matter what. And I love that. I love just to having that feeling that something else is bigger out there, bigger than my emotions, bigger than my one, I stubbed my toe this morning. But spirituality is something that I can always trust that is there. And it does blend so much with creative flow that sometimes I lose the words to talk about creativity and spirituality together
Yeah,
because I do think they are so similar.
yeah. So I totally know what you're saying. It's like, well, where does one end and the other begin? Yeah, and I'm glad you're sort of wrapping it back to spirituality. Yeah, I think it's easy sometimes for people to get wrapped up in like, oh, what does being spiritual look like? It doesn't mean I need to wear white or be a vegetarian or, all of these things that
I die.
can
Yeah.
be, you know, yeah, disguised sort of under the spiritual umbrella. And it's like, no, I mean, I can only speak for myself and how I perceive it, but it's everything. It's the whole human experience, and it's the understanding that there's more to our existence, and it's the layers and the depth and emotion and the learning. There's some learning, I think, but yeah, it's everything.
Well, Jessica, I
Yeah.
know I want to respect your time, and I'm so glad that we got to talk today. And the free flowing conversation is always fun with you. And I want to ask you if people want to connect with you and your services, how do they find you?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, this was so fun getting to talk to you today. Thank you so much for the invitation. Um, and people can connect with me through my website, and that is just www.jessica-caimi.com. And if you just go on the page there, there's a link to book a free discovery chat, which is just like a 10-minute call to learn more about what I do and for people to ask specific questions. And yeah, it's sort of the go to route.
And you offer, from what I understand, like a membership service where people can come monthly for energy clearings and kind of be a part of a membership. Is that also true?
Yes, thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah, I have we meet every Monday at 5 o'clock. And so that's a monthly like subscription. Your first week is free, and then there is a monthly fee. Um, but we meet every Monday, and then you get a major discount on one-on-one sessions too if you're in that group. And it's just I love getting to drop into that space each week. It's become like such a nice ritual for me to connect with the people in the group and just to know that this is this really, wonderful healing space that I also get to, receive in just being a part of it. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, because I think it's cool. I definitely wanted to mention that. It's a beautiful service that you offer and a valuable service. And I'm so grateful that you're my friend and we get to have more conversations in the future. So thank you for
Yes,
today,
yes, looking forward to more.
Awesome. Well, I'll go ahead and put your links below the YouTube video when I post it. And otherwise, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day, Jessica. You take care.
Thank you, you too. I'll see you soon.